But Carl Nassib came out and said that he knew when it was time for him to come out. He said that, he himself as a gay man on the field said to some guys like, hey, that's pretty gay. And the guys turned around and said, hey, you can't say that, man. And from then, at that point on, he was like, oh, you know what? I think it's time for me to come out. It seems like people are pretty protective of me. So what are your thoughts on Carl coming out?
I can remember when Carl Nassib came out. That was 2021, I believe. And then before that, you had the Michael Sam. And obviously, Michael Sam's career didn't last very long. And I think that may be one of the reasons why Carl Nassib decided to kind of wait, and not say anything up front. And if you go and look at his career, it was very short-lived after he came out. But since then, we haven't seen anybody else come out. So I'm like, I don't really know if we need more people to come out to kind of...
I was talking about this in my group chat just yesterday. Even outside of Carl's story, I live in LA, and so you hear things, you see things, and you would really be surprised at some of the men who are known to creep around with men and transgender people. And in LA, it's kind of like commonly known, but on a public level, it's not public discourse, which I think is fly. And I live in a bubble, so I recognize this. But I think that most people who live in these bubbles, LA, New York, Atlanta, DC, there's certain cities where it's just like, whatever, bro, we don't really care. But there's a large swath of people in the middle of our country who, kind of regard this as disgusting, as deplorable. The NFL is comprised of players, a lot of which from that played in Southern football conferences, right? And so, unfortunately, I don't think that the entirety of the league is as progressive as the bubble that I live in is. But I do want to note that I feel like sometimes we do not give people credit for growth. And I never want to saddle people with antiquated ideologies that previous generations have had, because I do see a lot of progress. I do know a lot of professional athletes who are heterosexual, who have, gay stylists and gay friends. And it's cool. I think you'd be surprised at how progressive some of these men are.